pigeonholed to Australia. You never got to play here. Your records were never released here. But then there was another band that came out too called Rose Tattoo that really wasn't that huge anywhere else but Australia also.
Yeah,
You
well,
know?
once again, you know, the slide player of Rose Tattoo was Pete Wells, who was the original bass player of Buffalo, right? You know, so you know, and you know, when you're signed to a record company, which we were, of course, through the early '70s, and you have management, an agent, a 3-road crew, an 8-ton truck, a 15-seater minibus, a wardrobe lady, and a publicist, and we had all that stuff. Okay, touring around constantly around Australia, and that's a very expensive thing to keep rolling.
Mm-hmm.
And the last people to ever have money put in their hands was actually me and the other players in the band. Okay, everybody else got paid, and we didn't. But one of the things about that is that the record company and management at the time, and we're talking about 1975, 76, I suppose, really, they were concerned that we weren't getting radio airplay. We weren't considered to be a commercial band. So they wanted to change us, and they forced us to change, really. We changed some members. Uh, Pete, who was a fantastic bass player, was you know, influenced by a guy called Norm Rouet, who was a great slide player, and Pete decided he wanted to play slide guitar, and so he left the band and formed Rose Tattoo, and became an iconic slide guitar player, you know, because Pete was
Mm-hmm.
always a great musician, fantastic musician, and that's, you know, that's the lineage, really. Buffalo, member leaves, forms another band, Rose Tattoo, and they were huge in Australia for quite some time. You know, in fact, they're still out touring. Pete died a few years back. Really, I would call it the Angry Anderson Band now, to be honest with you. You know, Angry was the lead singer, and he's still doing it with a revolving collection of different players. But you know, who knows why one particular band or one act hits the stratosphere, and
Uh-huh.
others that may be equally valuable or just don't get that chance. You know, personally, those things have never really concerned me very much. I mean, I think about them, but I don't. I've never really cared about that. You know, it's
So
like
when was the writing on the wall for Buffalo? At
uh,
what
well,
point?
really, it was from we the fourth album that we did, which was called uh, Mother's Choice, I think. Um, it just goes to show you how much I remember this.
How
You
much
know,
you
but
give a shit,
Pete,
huh?
Pete, yeah, Pete Wells had already decided that he wanted to form another band based around his self playing slide guitar by about, you know, mid to late '75, early '76, and he worked with us on the fourth album. Um, but we were different people were starting to come into the band then, and you know, as I say, from the moment that Pete decided he wanted to go and do something else, for me, that a lot of the heart went out of the whole thing. I continued on because I'm an obstinate bastard who just doesn't give up very easily. Okay, but you know, we did a fifth album, which I was enormously disappointed with. Not because there was any lack of quality playing on it, but just there was no. We used to have a direction, and we lost our direction through outside influences and being pushed to be a commercial band, which we were never going to be. But as I say, and by that time, I was really, I was kind of lost. You know, I was thinking, what can I do? What can I do? I don't like. This is. I had a record company that was trying to talk me into signing a deal just by myself.
Mm-hmm.
they had ideas of sort of, I don't know, putting lipstick on me and a silk shirt or something and turning me into a pop star, and that, that was never going to happen as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
And then what happened after that was that we'd recorded the fifth album. I wasn't happy with that. I was sitting around wondering what to do, and a friend, the original drummer from Buffalo, who had been overseas, Paul Balby, came back for a holiday in Australia, and he mentioned to me that he was working with a band in England called the Count Bishops, and they were just signed a recording deal, and they were about to record the first album. They'd been putting down backing tracks, but they needed a lead singer. And he said, "Would you be interested in if I put your name forward to the guys when I get back to London?" And I said, and of course I said, "Wow, man, send me a ticket." So, that was it for me. As I say, the last two albums, as far as I'm concerned, were less focused. The original reason and focus that we had been dissipated somewhat. Members were starting to change. Management and record company were starting to make decisions on our behalf that I didn't like. They, like all businesses, they wanted to improve their profits. They wanted to sell more records, and that's cool. That's business. But
So,
yeah.
how long were you in the Count Bishops, and how many albums was there with them?
Well, I went over to London in '77, and went straight into the studio. The band had already recorded the backing tracks, all the music tracks for the first album. So I got off the plane. I was picked up, taken to a pub, told that I needed to get used to drinking warm British beer, and then about, I don't know, 36 hours after I got off the plane, I was in the studio laying down the vocals on that album, which I completed in 2 sessions, um, and we ended up doing a total of 3 albums, one of which was a live album, recorded live at the Roundhouse in London. I mean, I suppose when I think about it, it seems as though I was in the Count Bishops for quite a long time, but in fact, it, uh, the band was finished by the end of 1979. Okay, and,
Wow.
and the reason for that was because our rhythm guitar player, who was hugely important in the band, uh, was killed in a car accident, and then our drummer got deported. Um, Now, I've got to tell you, Mike, that those things will tear the heart out of a band. When you
Oh,
lose
yeah.
two. So, the rhythm section of any band, a drummer, the bass player, and the rhythm guitar player. To me, everything rests on that. Okay, a singer with no band. Uh, what have you got? Nothing much, really. Unless you got somebody with the right looks, and a six
Yeah.
pack, and so really that was the end. I mean, we tried to carry on after we lost Zen in the car accident. We were just about to set off on a 30-date tour of the UK when that happened. I'd just done Top of the Pops, so we were on the cusp once again. Always, this is my story, Mike. I live on the cusp, not quite there, not quite there, but it was a lot of fun, and I ended up staying in England until 1984 after the demise of the Count Bishops, and I worked with a lot of luminaries from the British R&B scene at that time. The guitar player from Dr. Feelgood, the bass player from Nine Below Zero, um, a guitar player who was one of the first members of the Yardbirds. It was just like a community of guys who were either just been in bands, and we all liked the same music, so we just got together and just started gigging around, London. To, it's a journey, Mike. And sometimes you reach a place where you might go to the left or you might go to the right, and just depending on which one you choose, that's that leads you on to other
But
areas.
you've played ever since
Yeah, yeah.
Buffalo and the Count Bishops. You've been playing, and you mentioned that you have to go by Buffalo Revisited. Do you want to go into that at all?
Well, I can go into whatever you want to ask me, Mike, and if that's of interest to you, I can
Hmm.
certainly talk about that.
Well, tell everybody why you even if you put out a new Buffalo album tomorrow, brand new music, everything, it'd have to
Yep.
be called Buffalo Revisited. Go ahead and just tell everybody.
Well, uh, as I said to you before, Mike, I was never
Mm.
really particularly interested in trying to revisit Buffalo. Uh, I always looked at it as rather a sort of retrograde step, frankly. I think that you have to try and move forward and not try and live on what happened in the past. And but nonetheless, over a course of many years, I was continually being asked by various people to perform Buffalo material. Dave, why don't you reform Buffalo? Well, reforming Buffalo was never going to be a possibility. The guys that were in that band were no longer actually involved in music anymore, apart from myself. Uh, but eventually, somebody made an offer, a financial offer that I found very hard to turn down. And I said, look, I'll put together a lineup to do one show and for this money because you know what? Even I have to eat,
Yeah.
and I have bills to pay. So I did that, and it worked very well. And on my bank balance suddenly looked a lot more healthy than it was last month, last week. uh, and following that, I was asked to do, and I've continued to be asked to do more, and I have, as you know. Um, I had a few problems with those original members who did all kinds of things to try and stop me from doing it. Um,
Hmm.
and that's why I called it Buffalo Revisited. There are two reasons, really. I didn't want to give anybody the idea that it was Buffalo, the original Buffalo, because it could never be
Hmm.
that. And I don't like trying to fool people or tell them a lie. Okay, and that would have been a lie. So I wanted to make it very clear that it was going to be Buffalo Revisited. And um, even so, I had ex-members trying to, stop me, trying to threatening me with court action and all kinds of stuff. And I eventually had to even call it Dave Tice's Buffalo Revisited because one of the ex-members registered the name Buffalo Revisited out from underneath me to try to stop me. Now, Mike, I when I was growing up and going to school in England, we used to get the end of year school reports, about how the students going. And I remember the last one I ever got before I came to Australia, which was delivered to my parents, and it said, David works very well and he's doing very well at school, but he doesn't take direction well. and and that's me. You know, you don't try to tell me what I can and cannot do. If you do that, I can assure you that I will do it. Okay, because I don't like that. You see,
Yeah.
don't tell me what I can and can't do. You do not control me. I've worked what I've been doing all my life uh, to be my own man. All right, I don't like being told what to do. I've never been able to hold down a proper job, not because I can't do the job, but because if some prick comes along and tries to tell me or push me around, it's all over. All right, that's the end of it. And when we moved to Sydney first, uh, I had long hair, and because initially nobody in Sydney wanted to book the band, I got a job and I worked in a hardware shop for a while, selling cement and tools and shit like that. And one day, one day, the manager of the store came up to me, and he said, "Dave," he said, "you know, you really need to get your hair cut. You got really long hair, and that's not right." So I said, "Well, you know, how long I wear my hair, that's my business. And if you think it's a problem, then you need to find somebody else to do the job. and and he backed away. And I kept my long hair, and I kept working there for as long as I needed to. Basically, I told him to shove it, and he backed
But the
away.
good thing about this story is now, maybe not. So you started band because you liked all the women being thrown at you, or
Yeah.
you saw. Did that work out good for you?
Well, on occasion, yes. For a period of time, it was very, very good. I mean, Buffalo, I must tell you, when we were really going strong, um, we would not to the extent of people like the Beatles or anything like that. Okay, let's not get ourselves carried away. But if we went to Melbourne to do shows, we would arrive at our motel, and there would be girls waiting for us. And God love them, beautiful girls who were wanted to make breakfast and everything. So what can you say? It was great, but things like that, which are enormously important to a shy guy of 16 or 17 years of age,
Yeah.
uh, they don't last forever. Those ideas change, and I discovered that I really loved music. I loved it, and it came a point where I decided, I really hope that I can spend my life doing this, my whole life, and at 74. I think I'm pretty close to achieving that now, and it's you know being able to make music and perform, especially performing to an audience, is um, enormously satisfying. I love it, I really, really love it, and I can't even imagine myself uh, being unable to do it. Uh, what amazes me is that after all these years and over 50 years, or almost 55 years of being a musician, I still have an audience. Sometimes I wake up and I think, how is this possible? What? But what can I say? There it is. I I do it. I love it, and I do it with as much honesty and truth as I can possibly bring to it. I I love the people that I see in front of me, um, and I communicate with them. To me, doing a live gig, you create a small but very important and caring community. Okay, you share something.
Hmm.
It's not all about the people on the stage. It's about what happens between those people and the people in the audience. We all come together. We share something important that you can't get any other way. And to me, this is why I don't agree with a lot of the musicians that I hear moaning about how things have changed, how AI is taking over, blah 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 blah, and moaning about things like Live Nation controlling the business, Spotify, blah, all that stuff. It's true that those kind of organisations and those things end up controlling and gathering lots and lots of money together. They make lots of money,
Hmm.
you know. But I don't give a shit because I have yet to see AI walk on a stage, pick up an instrument, play it, and work up a sweat and reach out and touch people's hearts. Okay, this is so important. I've said before, the very first human beings would gather together in groups around the campfire and bang their drums and sing and wail together, and this is how they affirmed their belonging to the community that they were in, to that whole community thing, and I think that human beings need that. They will always need that, and you can't get that from a machine. No machine is ever going to give you that. Uh, and the sooner everybody starts sort of forgetting about that bullshit and just getting back to the reality of things, then the better it's going to be for everybody.
From 2017 to 3 years after that, I did a live every day on Facebook, and I just put up last night that at the time of this, I'm doing a Facebook Live every day starting in January because I kind of miss it because there's people that come to me during the pandemic and they only had me. They didn't have nobody else. They were living and things like that. So I feel like I owe it to a lot of people to do Facebook Live. If that's just me bullshitting for 30 minutes of nothing, that might mean something to them. So, that's the reason why I decided I want to do Facebook Live again. And I get that whole everybody's like a family, and not your fans, not the people that pay your bills or whatever the hell people want to call it. I've seen AI be good though too, in the sense that Randy Travis has a new album coming out, another guy singing it, and it's Randy Travis's voice. And Randy Travis is going on tour with that guy to promote that whole thing, which is really genuine. It's not like they just said, okay, well, Randy, you can't sing no more, so you go over here and sit in the corner. There's more of they put it together, kind of like the Beatles did with the John Lennon song last year. So there are good things, or like Star Wars is using James Earl Jones's voice. They own his voice now, and of course he passed away earlier this year. So Darth Vader can live on forever because they own that voice. So there are some good things to it, but I get the bad things. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are doing bad things with AI, and I get that. But at the end of the day, it is about that respect from people, like you. I remember the first time I ever looked for you. I remember the first time I ever sent you an email. And we've been friends since then. I mean, and it's like, you're one of my favorite people in the whole world. And I'll tell everybody that. I mean, because there's just something about you that every time I get to talk to you, it makes me happy. And, and there's been some tough times with you. You kicked me in the ass and told me I was doing stupid shit sometimes. I mean, so it's kind of like that. I hate to say it, but you are that age anyway. But father figure over here in Australia that don't live in America that can come kick my ass. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
Mike,
even the Hope's even told me before. She's like, "See if you can talk to Dave. See if you can talk to Dave." And we do talk quite a bit. I mean, we talk at least 2 or 3 times a month. Sometimes.
yeah, that's right. Well, Mike, it's a pleasure to talk to you too. It's and what you say about AI, I don't want you to get the idea that I'm disrespecting or hate it or anything like that. It's just another tool, and some people will get benefit from that tool. And respect, man. Go for it. Whatever you need to do. The one thing, like I said to you before, I don't personally like to be told what to do. Okay,
Uh-huh.
I'm not good with that, and I like to think that I don't do that to other people either. Right? Everybody has a right to make their own decisions about these things. If you want to do that, and you get some benefit from that, all the best of wishes to you, man. It's just that for me personally, what I get out of this thing is what I was talking about, that community thing, and what you were saying,
Mm-hmm.
about the connection that you have with people, maybe halfway across the world, that connect with you, and we all need that, that human connection, and you know, performance and music and whatever sort of music it is, it's about that connection. And I always believe that if you want to get something, you must give something. Okay, I'm not talking about money or
Mm-hmm.
anything material. You must give something of yourself. Give something of yourself to the people in front of you, and they will give you something back. It's as simple as that. Some people never seem to quite get it. I see bands who are wonderful musicians who seem to be incapable of actually making that human connection with the people, right? And I don't like that. I can respect their ability on their instrument, but if what you're doing is all about you, then you've lost something. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you've got to give. You must give more than just look how many thousands of notes I can play at an enormous speed, or what a, who cares? I don't, some
Yeah.
people do, but I don't, I don't care. If you can play one note and touch somebody, then that's more important than 1,000 notes that just go everybody's heads.
Well, as always, it's a pleasure talking to you. We are, and then we're going to start working on this documentary. So there'll be more in depth for everybody to listen to and hear about
Yeah,
everything that has to do with Dave Tice, because he's got some interesting stories. We won't go into tonight, but how he got signed. Buffalo got signed. That's a great story. You
yep,
know, the story of how we got to the record done with Ripple. And the many other things that me and him talk about that we try to work on and stuff. But it's going to be your time eventually. I know you said you turned 74 in Christmas, but hey, it eventually happened.
there's
But
life in the old dog. Life in the old dog yet, mate.
so if anybody wanted to reach out to you about, like to get you to like sign a Buffalo album or to sign a Count Bishop's album, do you have a way for people to get a hold of you?
Well, I've got a Facebook page, as you know, Mike. And if people can't reach out to me that way through Facebook, then we can establish a contact and take it from there. It's one thing about Facebook is maybe a bit old hat now, but it's a pretty good way for people to connect. And
And you do have a Bandcamp now, right?
yeah, I've got a Bandcamp site with various things. I've put some stuff up there. I'm actually trying to finalize video and recording from the last Buffalo Revisited show that I did. Um, Hopefully, it'll be sort of in a presentable state sometime early next year, and around about then, I may well be wanting to talk to you about getting some sort of way to get it out in your neck of the woods, Mike.
That's great. I do work for a record label, so
Well,
who knows what'll
I know,
happen.
I know that, and I don't hold it against you.
You don't hold it against me. I don't think you'd hold anything against me, but anyway.
No, I wouldn't,
Uh,
mate.
uh, but as always, man, it's a pleasure talking to you. And if you will.